How you guys doing? It's Jonathan here from Upward Living. Today I'm going to be doing a video on why Paul silenced feminists. So everybody's been getting political nowadays. I figured why not do the same because it is important. Truth is truth, should be spread, and I'm going to do it. So every once in a while I'll do segments. Maybe they'll be political, maybe not. We'll go with the flow. But I'm going to be reading some verses here. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the First Corinthians 14:34, where Paul supposedly said that women are supposed to be silent in the church. So first, let's realize who he's talking to, right? Paul is talking to the church at Corinth here, right? And as I did my research, I found a few articles online. Of course, that doesn't mean they're 100% accurate, um, but it did quote several historians and things along those lines. And I'm going to read from a website here. It says, first, the command for the women to remain silent seems to deal with two important issues: proper order in the church and proper demonstration of acknowledgement of authority. Apparently, some women were speaking out in a way that did not acknowledge spiritual authority of either their husbands or church leaders. So, at the church at Corinth, they they had it was a temple of Aphrodite, right? She was, I think, a Roman god, I believe, that pretty much glorified sex, right? And glorified, you know, prostitutes and things along those lines. It was a temple that boasted of 1,000 prostitutes. So that was held in Corinth, right? It was a very wealthy town, but there was also a lot of sensuality, right? A lot of what we see today, even a lot of um, feminists, to be completely honest with you. And I'm not at all saying that women shouldn't be empowered and women shouldn't be independent or anything along those lines. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying um, for a woman to assert that she is higher than a man is simply unbiblical. The two should become one, right? And yeah, the man was created first and is supposed to be the head of the family, but he's supposed to take care of the wife. That's just how it is. Not that every woman needs to have a husband, not what I'm saying either, but um, for women to assume and assert dominance over men is just simply not biblical. And it's really on a lot of feelings and sensuality. So, as I said, Corinth was just plagued with sexual sins, plagued with these sins. And let me tell you guys, it says, in the end times, the right will be wrong and the wrong will be right. You know what I mean? Like, we won't know what's right and what's wrong. And that's kind of the direction we're heading. As a nation, as a world, all of it. The further away we get from God, the more the wrong thing becomes the right thing in a lot of people's eyes. So at Corinth, if the right thing is for the man to be the head of the family, right, and for the man to take care of his wife, not that he should, assert dominance or anything along those lines necessarily, but that he should, you know, do it in a loving way and be compassionate, and the wife should just be submissive as far as, listening to him because it's out of love, because he is supposed to be out of love. That's how it should be. But if we start getting further away from that and start embracing this feminist mindset that we have now, that's where the problems come in. Um, that is what I believe the Church at Corinth had. Because if you look at today's society, sex is so glorified, right? Sexual sin is just glorified like crazy. So if Corinth struggled with that and they got further and further away from God, you start embracing ideologies that are not of God. So for Paul to say that women should stay silent in the church, and when you think about the assembly of the churches, how they were back then, women and men typically did sit separately. They typically did. Um, and to keep the flow of things, there were new women in church. There just were. So in that society where sex was glorified and prostitutes were everywhere and all these things, For a woman, and I assume feminism, now this is my take on it, but the further away you get from God's ideology, the further you get from the way God designed it to be, the more you'll start embracing mindsets and ideologies of this world, like feminism, like saying females are higher than men, which is not biblical. It's not. It's just not. The two become one. They're equal, right? The two become one. And of course, in the you know the structure of the family, God put men at the head of the church, but to love that head of the church and head of the family, to love the wife, not to abuse her or to assert dominance or anything like that. Of course not. But certainly not to have the woman head of the man. Certainly not. And that is a satanic mindset. It's a mindset that is not godly. It's very worldly. And I believe that is a mindset that the women, a lot of them, at Corinth embraced. Now, if you're going to sit here and say, oh man, God, hated all women, he didn't give them any authority. Well, look at Aquila and Priscilla, right? Aquila, the woman, she took Apollos, right, one of Paul's, buddies, pulled him aside after he became a Christian, pulled him aside and corrected him. Told him, what you were saying to that group of people was not correct. And that's in Acts 18 if you want to look it up. So, to assert the claim that, and it also says, I'll read you another verse here. It's in 1 Corinthians chapter 12. And it's talking about the spiritual gifts. It's talking about prophesying. Oh, sorry, chapter 11. And it says, but every wife who prays or prophesies. So, and it's talking about in an assembly. It is. And if you read the chapter, it becomes pretty clear, because to prophesy, you kind of need to do it over somebody else, right? So that's kind of how it works. So praying, yeah, sure, it could be a secret thing, but to prophesy, it has to be over someone else. So every wife who prophesies. So wife who prophesies. So he's giving women a role as well, giving them an authority. So saying it's okay. So that's what I'm saying. It's not just saying, oh man, all women should be quiet in church. No. But at that time, it was almost necessary, because the church was still expanding, and not even in just Corinth, but a lot of the churches, there was feminist mindset because they did not have God. They glorified sex, they glorified their body, and they glorified their own ideologies. And what does it say in Ecclesiastes? There's nothing new under the sun. So the further we get from God in this nation, the more we embrace feminism, the more we embrace, sex and sensualism, all these things, right? Sensuality. We embrace it. So that's the issue we're having here. Paul's not, I don't believe, and it's open to interpretation, but I don't believe Paul is just saying that women should all be silent in church. I believe you have to look at the context. You have to look at where they were. You have to look at the church of Corinth. Like I said, there was Aphrodite, right? And thousands of prostitutes. It was like Las Vegas times 10. It was like Sex City, right? It was a very sinful city. So for Paul to say that makes sense, because you don't want somebody who embraces sensuality and embraces a non-godly sexual pleasure, right? Non-godly sexual lifestyle. I mean, you're gonna get feminism. It's what happens, because they certainly aren't going to sit there and say, oh man, we should be subject to men because that's what the Bible says. They certainly wouldn't say that. Certainly not. So that's my 2 cents on it, guys. I think I don't think Paul hated women. He was single his whole life, sure, whatever, or his whole ministry life, but I don't believe he hated women. I don't. I believe feminists, yeah, he told them to be quiet. Because in that church that was very young and impressionable, they had to be. Because you know what? That's kind of what we're seeing now, right? People are leaving the church to join these sexual lifestyles. Glorify your body, glorify sensuality, right? Live for feelings. And I feel like that's very well what could have happened. It's very well what could have happened. Because if you get sexual sin, you're typically going to get feminism and these ideologies that aren't godly. Because the further away you get from God, the more you'll embrace these ideologies. There's nothing new. This has been around. Feminism has been around since the beginning of time, since sin happened. It just has been. There's nothing new under the sun, as Ecclesiastes says. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope none of you get super offended. I'm not at all saying that women should be silenced or, women should, I mean, they can be independent, they can be strong, all these things, of course. But you know what? In this world that we live in, you need to have your ideologies and have your worldviews centered on the Bible. And that's the only thing that's going to be sustainable. It's the only thing that's going to be true. It's the only thing that's truly good and proved to be good. So the further away we get from that, the more we're going to embrace ideologies that aren't biblical. I'm sorry, but feminism is not biblical. And for Paul to tell these women to be silenced, I would only have to believe that they were embracing these sexual sins. Even if they were wives, stuff like that. It was a young church at the time too. And he told them, if your wife has a question, like, have them ask a question when you're at home. And it was also to not disrupt the assembly because, like I said, they sat on two different sides. And if women are shouting things, they wouldn't know. And even women that weren't married could be in there, and then feminism could stir up. So there were two. I think it was a twofold reason: one, feminism; one, just to keep the order of things. So no, Paul did not hate women. He just silenced feminists. And you know what? It's one of those things, guys. We need to align our worldviews with the Bible, and that is it. I'm sorry, guys, but saying women are higher than men is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Women, they're awesome. I love my girlfriend. She's amazing. But the Bible calls the husband to be the head of the family, not in a dictator way, not in a way that's going to harm the woman in any way, but to protect her, to keep her safe. And that's just how it is. Not that women shouldn't make their own decisions, not that they shouldn't be independent, all these things. But ultimately, that's God's model. That's his plan. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope no one's too triggered. I'm gonna keep doing videos like this, just on a variety of different topics. But I'm probably gonna launch something on the website too, just writing a few different topics that maybe I won't make a video on. But I hope you guys did enjoy this. I hope you guys get it. I'm in no way against women, obviously, but feminism is, is scary. It's scary to think about because to exalt the women over the men, that would be the reason Paul silenced them. Sorry, it just is. And embracing sexual sin and stuff like that, embracing how you feel. We start talking about our feelings too much, guys. I'm going off a little bit here, but we start talking about our feelings. We start acting on our feelings way too much. When we start following our heart. Our heart is evil, right? Our heart is deceitful above all things. Who can trust it, right? So we need to align our worldviews. We need to align our heart. We need to align our feelings with the Word of God. It's the only reliable source we have. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like, subscribe, and if you guys aren't already signed up for the daily devotions, link will be in the description. Just scroll down to the bottom of the website, enter your name in, or if you want to do it on Instagram, we got an Instagram group right now, pretty sweet group. Click on the Instagram icon on the website and send me a message saying, hey, I want to be in it, and I'll let you in. So thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoyed. See ya.